I've heard people talk about how that era of Psychopathic was kind of like the Universal monster movies era, where like they'd have, here's Creature from Black Lagoon, here's Frankenstein, like creating these backstories of these characters that they knew were going to have longevity. To make that work, it sounds like they didn't want some like jaded hipster person being like, oh, well, this isn't Chuck D 1987 hip hop. This isn't legit. Like being able to go with them to help build these stories. Do you feel like that metaphor is apt? And what's it like being with like these really big personalities?
Yo, it's Hatchet Chat with Lars and Snax. Your juggalo homies talking hatchet tracks. There's hatchet beats and hatchet raps. The whole catalog's packed full of classic gems, and we talk about them all on Hatchet Chat. Whoop whoop.
Friends, welcome to Hatchet Chat. We've got Kuma. I linked with this cool dude at the gathering, and he edited and directed the Cypher video, but most importantly, he's a professional musician. Kuma, what's it like being a professional musician in the Detroit area now? And is it still possible to make your living as an artist?
It's possible. I think anywhere you're a professional artist is a grind in America. But yeah, Detroit's awesome. I love this place. I've loved it since I was born here. People come here now, they're like blown away at the transformation of the city. Like it's just completely different and built up. I mean, yeah, there's still some bad apples and there's some crazy shit that happens. It's just Detroit being Detroit, but it is really cool for like restaurants and nightlife, and it's awesome. It's a great place.
We want to know about your life story. We want to know about your work. We want to know what drives you to make those classic tracks and how you got involved in the subculture. And also maybe we could talk a little about some of your other work, but if that's what's up, we can jump into it.
Yeah, man. Like Lars said, we want to get to know you a bit more. You've always kind of kept a low profile, and lately you've been doing a few more interviews and letting the juggalos inside your world a little bit more. Is there anything that kind of prompted this change for you to be, seen in the public sphere a bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think what prompted me to be more into the public sphere of the music industry was Violent J. He's like always pushing for me. He's always got my back. Personally, like when it comes to ICP, I've always wanted to kind of stay behind the scenes and let my music and let ICP's music be at the forefront. I never wanted to put myself ahead of the band. But I think the relationship with the guys over the course of knowing them for 15, almost 20 plus years, has like evolved in a sense where we're brothers, and it's more than just a working relationship. We're really truly family, and they've given me a lot of opportunities. I mean, dude, this is the house the Juggalos built, in some ways. And,
hell yeah.
And ICP, and it's a small little ranch, by the way, but it's still mine.
That's dope, man.
So it's like, it's definitely Joe pushing me to be more in the forefront. But when it comes to anything that he wants, like I try to help him out as much as possible. Like the talk show, I said no basically at first.
No way.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like, I didn't know if I could carry a conversation, but they carried me. If you watch it, they're definitely, carrying the interview, because that's what they do. They're entertainers. But I've learned a thing or two watching them and learning and growing as an entertainer in some way, from a musician or from a producer to an entertainer, and like everything that they've taught me. And for example, like when you asked me this question, I paraphrased the question to you. Well, I learned that from Violent J, so there's one thing, nice. Right? It's just that growth. You have to be more than just someone behind the computer. You have to be somewhat of a personality as a musician these days. But I still don't want to, I guess, ever put myself too much over the music. I think the music's the most important thing to me.
That's a very humble, interesting perspective that I think comes up a lot on this show, but I've never heard it said like that. The idea that the music comes first and the culture surrounding the music kind of is very organic, and it's based on the hard work and like the dedication to the craft. And that as soon as you're like, I'm bigger than this, I'm better than this, I'm out, that's when things tend to go wrong, I think, for indie artists. Like, would you agree? Is that me interpreting you right? Or
no, you're definitely interpreting me correctly. I think the music comes first, because even for Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope, they know that at the end of the day, they're just two guys, but the music creates a lore and creates a legend and a tale that you can go down rabbit holes, that people can find hidden meanings or other ways of interpreting this stuff. And even they know that. So I think it really does come down to putting the music first, and everything else will follow.
And not giving up. That's the other thing, right? Like if you let the music come first, that's going to drive you more than like if you let your conception of fame, your idea of how many followers you should have. Like, it's all about quality at the beginning. And that's what's interesting about you, dude, because it's always like seeing your credits on records and being like, oh, who is this guy? It was organic. It was earned. The credibility was earned. And learning that you have like roots in other music genres shows that, like, yeah, you're coming at this from a unique perspective.
For sure, dude. Like Lars said, you're kind of you walk amongst many worlds, and we did notice you had a 2015. Oh snap! Who's that guy?
And a dog lover, and a puppy.
And a dog lover.
This is the first dog cameo we ever had on the show.
Yes, it is.
Dog beats.
Hell yeah.
Hi, Bello. Yeah, dude. Keep going.
No, dude, I got distracted by the adorable dog.
He's a good boy.
But yeah, we were trying to scour the internet, going through, referencing your old interviews and stuff like that, which there aren't many. There's a few more now, but you did do one in 2015 on Fago Lovers.
Yes.
And you mentioned there that video game music was a huge influence. So do you have a favorite video game soundtrack?
There's so many. Can I name a few?
Yeah, absolutely. Name as many as you want.
Obviously, like Final Fantasy 6, which was 2 here, 7, Super Metroid, Hollow Knight, which is a newer game.
Yep.
Tunic, which is a newer game. Incredible soundtrack. Oh man, Monkey Island. That's one you
don't hear very often.
Yeah, Monkey Island. Oh my God, it's so good. It's just very like piratey, but the music's incredible. And of course, like Zelda, Super Mario. I mean, there's so many. I'm forgetting stuff. Like I'm forgetting stuff from the Genesis, like Streets of Rage, and there's so many. There's so many good. Even the new Streets of Rage is great. Even like the new Turtles, the new Shredder's Revenge.
Yes, I played through that like a month ago or so, and the soundtrack was blowing my mind.
Yeah, dude, it's so good. It sounds like straight from the fucking 90s.
So you're you're a pretty big gamer to like name all those. Has gaming helped you with your production chops, you think?
Absolutely. I think gaming has really helped me with my anxiety. Like as a performer and a musician, I think like, and working, like it's like a stress reliever, and it's just like getting lost and not thinking about anything, and like hyper focusing in on that game. Definitely.
Okay, so there's a thread here that video games can be a meditation. Music is a way to like express things that are hard to express in different ways, and that like these imaginary worlds that we create and the subcultures that connect us are bigger than, than platinum records, and bigger than like all what people perceive as like success in the music industry. Like being able to connect worlds together in a way that like biologically grounds us. These are the things that make music lasting and make great art and make great artists, I think, right? Like if you're able to know, oh, I need to be calm, this game will calm me down, or like things like that. That's something that I think about a lot, right? Because we're here a temporary time, but I feel like the energy we create exists beyond us.
Yeah, definitely. Because music and entertainment, it lives on forever. even if you're not here, like you still see Michael Jackson, you still see Prince, and people still buy these records, and you still leave a lasting impression. And someday I won't be here, but my music will be here, and same with the people that I'm involved with. And I think that's very important, to leave somewhat of a legacy. And I love the idea of having little like Easter eggs in my music and Easter eggs in my music videos I've done for the guys and my personal stuff. And I love the sense of lore and legend and stuff like that. So you'll see more of that in the future.
That's
okay.
exciting.
That's cool. So without revealing too much about what's going on, like, are there any Easter eggs that we maybe missed, or is the point that like you don't have to tell us them?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, someone actually did discover one of the Easter eggs from the music video. Jesus Christ! The satellite music video. I couldn't remember in the video.
Oh yeah.
There's a Easter egg in the end of that video, and someone on my Twitch discovered it, because I had asked about when I put the music video out. I just nonchalantly asked if you could find me in the video, and someone did. So that was cool.
No way.
Yeah, so somebody followed up on it on their own. So there's one little tit, so you guys might be able to find that.
Hell yeah. Well, Juggalos, get on that. Help us find that flavor.
Okay, this is a hard question. Is there a favorite track or album project you've worked on for the Psychopathic realm?
There's a couple. I really liked working with Dark Lotus a lot. The Opaque Brotherhood was a good album. I really enjoyed working on the last one, the Mud, Air, Blood, Wind, Fire, Earth, Captain Planet.
We never get that title right. We both love that album, and we can't get it in order.
Son of a bitch.
It's like Manny saying Shaggy's new EP name. I don't know if you're watching Shaggy's Twitch, but he always, every episode, he gets Manny, shout out Manny, to say the title of Shaggy's upcoming EP. It's like super long. Shaggy Tudo presents Professor Shags and the Quest for the Ultimate Groove, I think. But anyway, that's like trying to say that Dark Lotus album.
Yeah, I love that Joey's going like old school. I love that he loves that shit. It's great.
No doubt, man.
Yeah, so I really like that Dark Lotus record. Those two that I was doing production and mixing and stuff. And then I loved working with Killa for Medicine Bag.
Hell yeah.
For ICP, I think The Tempest was one of my favorite things we worked on, because we had a really fun team in the studio, and we crafted some cool shit. And I think like If I Was a Serial Killer is like one of those legendary ICP songs that will live on. But yes. I don't know, man, there's so many great songs that I was involved with, like Night of the Chainsaw and fucking Bazooka Joey.
Dude, and that answer is a testament to how much you've worked on. And we want to ask you about some of your video flavor. But before we do that, I got to ask you, since we're talking about the production that you do, you must be aware of the Kuma for the Sixth movement. Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a great idea, but I think it's selfish for me to want to do all of it. I think what it started off with was like, I just wanted to be involved.
Right.
But I don't think it's fair to say, I don't think it's fair for me to do the whole record. So I think there's just too much flavor in the Juggalo world, and it's not fair to like Mike and Devereaux and Shaggy there had to say, oh, Kuma's going to do all that. You know, there is something to be said about one producer doing a whole record because of consistency. But I mean, the Sixth is like, it's like a magic record, you know. I don't know what the concept is, so don't ask me yet.
No.
But I want to be a part of it. So Kuma for the Sixth in that regard.
Okay, that's what's up. 1/6 of the six.
Yeah. That would be cool.
That would be fresh, man.
Yeah.
That's tight. Can we talk about your Escape Driver project with Johnny Fate and like that status of that, unless that's secret?
No, that's cool. So Johnny Fate went back to college.
Okay, cool.
So he actually pursued a video degree, like video production. And he's talented. He's a talented musician. You guys have seen it. Great person to work with, and excellent guitarist. And he got really heavily interested in video production when we started doing stuff together, and like his day job, and it's just all kind of like snowballed. And he recently won an award. Like he got married. He filmed his wife, who's like a figure skater, and won an award for like this little documentary he did. So he's been busy, you know.
Yeah.
And like I haven't put any sort of pressure on him. But we have like 9 tracks done, and we're missing like 2. I want to do 10, but I want to do like a bonus thing. And it's been a process to try, because I wanted to have the follow-up record come out last year for the No Fate album, but I can't, you know, things happen, world happens, people have adult lives, you know, and careers and things they want to pursue. So I didn't want to put too much pressure on them, but we're going to be working this summer, and I hope to finalize that. And I'm looking at fall, no matter what.
Oh, this soon. That's awesome.
I'd like to put it out in fall, because I think that would be a good fall record. So
That's something to look forward to.
It's awesome. All this exclusive news we're getting. It's awesome.
Yeah, man. And I guess getting into the video stuff a bit more, like before we ask specifics about that, do you really consider yourself primarily like one over the other, like a video guy or a musician first?
Do I consider myself a video guy or a musician first? Probably a music producer.
Okay.
I think.
Cool.
My passion lies more into the music thing. I think the video thing is just kind of followed that.
Cool.
And I just started fucking around with Premiere when I was young, like a cracked version of Premiere.
Yeah.
Before you had any sort of money to like buy this shit, and just getting your hands dirty in it. And then Dad bought me a computer that you know, was one of the first Macs that could like capture, and like you could capture like 10-second clips, and they would be like 10 frames per second, and it looked like crap, but like you could take those clips and edit. And we were big into like backyard wrestling, so we used to make like music videos for a fucking little wrestling promotion. And yeah, so it just all went crazy from there. And you know, and I don't know, like music, obviously, like when you do music, you're going to do music videos and music or video projects. So it just kind of all have the synergy. But, you know, with that skill, and it was one of the coolest things to learn in high school, and the most fun. And, you know, it's better than fucking math for me personally. But I like math too, but it was better, like more creative. So I guess that's how I fell into video production, was from the love of wrestling and music.
Yeah, it's interesting that you like don't define yourself in one category, and you're able to remix your identity. Speaking of remixes, we wanted to talk about the Wraith remix albums, and like how you got from the AMB project to that in such a quick period of time. Like, what's the backstory?
Okay, so when I came to Psychopathic, I actually started on the Shaggy 2 Dope project with Fritz, which was Fuck the Fuck Off. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't credited on it because I was learning. They were training me. The whole story of working, I guess it just goes back to, I found the job posting on Craigslist.
Wow, that's dope.
Yeah. So, and it was like a hidden job posting, and I wasn't really looking for a job at the time. I was like DJing and sort of traveling the world, and, you know, going to community college and trying to, you know, figure out what the fuck I wanted to do. And my dad sent me the listing to Craigslist, and he's like, hey, check this out. You know, this looks like a good job. It's a video job. So I applied, and they called me, and they're like, would you like to come to Psychopathic Records office? And I was like, Psychopathic Records, what the fuck is that? And I was like, what is that? I know that, and I looked it up and I was like, oh my God, it's ICP. So I went over there and they were like showing me around, and I met with Nathan, Extra, and Tom Lundberg, Tom 2, we call them. And I met Alex and had my interview, and Alex was looking at my resume. He's like, all right, man, I see that you do music too, and you like wrestling. That's pretty cool. And we saw your demo reel, and there's wrestling on it. That's really cool. I was like, okay, cool.
You're hired.
So like, they called me after I left, and they were like, you didn't get the job for video. However, would you like to come train to be a studio engineer? And I was like, holy shit, dude. Like, I've never been a studio engineer. We'd like to try you out for it, but we'd also like to like have you do video projects too if you get the job. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. I can check it out, No, I had no fucking clue what I was walking into, So they brought me in. It was like Christmas. It was December, right after Christmas. And I met Fritz, and Fritz showed me Pro Tools. And it was really similar to a lot of different DAWs like Logic and Ableton and stuff I've used, but definitely had some differences. He showed me how to record and edit, and took me under his wing. And I was real serious about it. Took notes. If you ever fucking want to learn something, man, bring a notepad.
Yeah.
People have lost the art of notepads and pens, but just writing it down and writing it again, that really helped me out. And
showing them you're serious, right? You're like, this is valuable information. Yeah.
Yep. And Lavelle was there, who was their other engineer at the time. He obviously was in one of the super groups at Psychopathic, or what was it, like the
super villains.
Yeah, super villains. Yes.
I did not know he was an engineer though. My wig is flipped. Okay,
he was a full-time engineer for them.
Interesting. We always wondered more about his story. That's interesting. Yeah. That's tight.
I guess he went on to become a preacher or something like that.
Yeah, I remember ABK mentioning that on like a YouTube stream, which is so cool. And I knew he was a dope rapper. I had no idea he was anywhere behind the scenes with music.
Yeah, he was a real nice guy. He was always cool. He was pretty professional with me for coming in and taking his job. He just wanted to get out and do like the church thing, which that's cool.
So you've seen that transition happen?
Right before my very eyes. I didn't realize how involved he was, but he was a really nice guy. He trained me up. Fritz was awesome. Fritz still does stuff for Magic Ninja, and like, I fucking love Fritz. I don't talk to him too much anymore, but I love him for giving me that shot. And I trained 2 weeks. We worked on Fuck the Fuck Off and did different tracks and recordings and production and adding stuff to the tracks, and for 2 weeks at night. And it was great. And then they offered me the gig, and they were like, yeah, you could do this for sure. And I started off, the first record we did was actually Boondocks' The Harvest and Axe Murder Boys' Blood In, Blood Out at the same time. So
cool. Wow.
Joe really.
So you're responsible for 2 new acts at the same time, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot. It was overwhelming. I was like, holy shit, dude, So I was definitely getting the gist of everything, and the personalities, and learning it all on the fly. And School of Hard Knocks, baby. It was really, really like a whole new world for me, and being younger and learning how to navigate this was challenging, but very obviously rewarding, because look where I'm at today. I'm able to talk about it. I have a story. It's cool, so there's the legacy part of it, I suppose. But the challenge was just freaking learning it all and being thrown right into the fire. And I got to credit Joe, man. He took a giant chance on someone new. He wanted someone new. He didn't want someone, you know, he didn't want someone to overstep him in a sense, I think. And I'm not saying that anybody else did, but I understood what he wanted, you know, right away. He never told me that personally, but I knew that he wanted someone that could, you know, get the job done and do the work. And I wanted
Kind of a
to
team player, would you say?
team player, but kept, you know, was respectful and kept their mouth shut.
Yep, totally. Yeah.
And like, but I mean, obviously, like, I learned that I needed to say stuff because I didn't want the product to suffer either. You know, I wanted to make sure that they could trust me, my ear, and my abilities. So it was definitely it was a good working relationship over time, and they really took to me and I took to them.
You know, I've heard people talk about how that era of Psychopathic was kind of like the Universal monster movies era, where like they'd have, here's Creature from Black Lagoon, here's Frankenstein, like creating these backstories of these characters that they knew were going to have longevity. To make that work, it sounds like they didn't want some like jaded hipster person being like, oh, well, this isn't Chuck D 1987 hip hop. This isn't legit. Like being able to go with them to help build these stories. Do you feel like that metaphor is apt? And what's it like being with like these really big personalities and having to be like, your vocal timing's off, bro? Like, yeah. Two questions.
Dude, holy shit. That's a hard question. With the monster movie comparison, yes. I mean, I definitely think like you can only make Friday the 13th part one time, right? And with Violent J, he is a fucking, you know, he's a brainiac. He's a thinker. He's a creative. He wants to do new shit all the time. He wants to keep continuing to push his sound and push himself and do different things. And he can only write the fucking Riddle Box and Great Malenko once, because it will never happen again, because it will be boring if it's the same shit.
Right.
And so he wanted fresh blood, and he got it with me, and he still gets it with new people, and I respect that from him. You know, sometimes I do have that tendency to say, hey, you sound like, do it like in a Malenko kind of voice, you know, like I had a panic or whatever, you know, like he does that grit thing. So he can still channel that stuff here and there, but you still have, you know, mixed with some of that new school flavor or new school beats. And would I like to hear some old school shit once in a while? Of course, everybody does, but it's really hard to capture that time period. So it's going to be hard to capture the Tempest again, in my opinion. It's going to be hard to capture Bang Pow Boom again. It's just going to be, it's like lightning in a bottle, grabbing it out of thin air. And he's going to keep making new music, and me too. You don't want to repeat yourself in the game. So navigating, working with personalities and egos, sometimes you gotta compromise. I think the best way to do it is to actually say, hey, let's try it both ways. You know, let's try it your way, and we'll put it on this track, and then let's try it like a little bit different like this, and let's see what sounds better, and see what the room's feeling like. What's the vibe of the room with everybody in there, you know? So it's like psychology 101, I suppose. Like, and it's just having a positive attitude, you know. But there's been times where I've gotten into, not fights, but I've been in studio where it's like, holy shit, like there's no compromise. Like this person's out of their fucking mind, and there's nothing I can do about it. I'm not saying it was anybody at Psychopathic. It could have been, or any of that. It could have been somebody outside, but there's just nothing you can do. And you just bite, grit your teeth, and do it. But yes, I think if you're positive and you can compromise, they can compromise, that's cool. But at the end of the day, you also have to realize, as an engineer, you're there because they want you there, and they're paying you to do their job. So they ultimately have the final say.
Right. That kind of makes me wonder, as someone who has done stuff like your projects where you're like the main source of the all of its creativity, do you find that it's hard to be that kind of filter, that producer role on yourself, to be critical from an outsider perspective, or maybe doing that for other people helps you do it for yourself? What's that kind of like, as opposed to producing for someone?
Oh, that's a great question. I think being in the main role of being a producer is always going to be a challenge. For me personally, I guess I'm like, I try to just go with my gut instinct at first and not change it too much. I always look at it like the story of what was it? Billie Jean. They did like 30 fucking mixes of Billie Jean, and then they went back to the first mix.
Right.
They got it right the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think sometimes capturing lightning in a bottle the very first time is the way to go. However, I'm not opposed to making changes, but sometimes I have to put my foot down.
No.
With myself, my teammates, and the people I work for. I'm like, okay, that's out of key. We gotta fix that.
Right.
That's a hard skill to learn, to be diplomatic about that stuff, right? Because ultimately your name's on it, and your brand is because you have a consistency with quality. So yeah, absolutely. And I think it's very challenging, but also I guess I'm trying to make it as organic as possible with the take, the recording, and the music, and make it as natural as possible without editing too much. Sometimes I don't like all the hyper editing with music and takes, so I say stuff about that. I'm like, there's too many takes, there's too much punching in. I do say that, because I want it raw. I want most of it raw, but there is compromise, because at the end of the day, like I said, with certain clients, I'm not necessarily referring to people at Psychopathic again. It's a job, and you gotta grit your teeth and say, okay, no problem. Let's give you what you want, because that's what's gonna ultimately make someone happy. That is a cool perspective. And like, we've never had a producer like be able to talk about the intricacies of like the studio dynamics and the politics of doing other takes. And like, speaking of other takes, like on the Wraith remix, there's extra stuff. Like there's extra verse on Welcome to the Show.
Yep.
How much of that did you track? Or how much of that was like, came to you and you're like, oh, let's use this?
It was there. Yeah.
Okay.
So that record was challenging, because when I got there, like, at the time Mike P was gone, Lavelle was gone, leaving, or no, he was gone at that point. Fritz was kind of there in and out. So I was getting the sessions together for everybody to remix. And I was somewhat familiar with the record from doing show tapes, but I wasn't like completely familiar with everything on that record. So it was a bit challenging getting it together, and some sessions we didn't have. So I think a couple tracks didn't get remixed from what I remember, which was, we were bumming about it. What could we do? We couldn't find the fucking files. The organization was a fucking catastrophic, but as far as Welcome to the Show goes, I grabbed the last session that was there, and it had that extra verse, and people pointed it out to me as my career progressed, and I was like, shit, I didn't even know that. I was
That's
so
funny,
fucking
man.
Oblivious.
That's wild.
Which
That's
is
what I
kinda
like
cool.
you, right? The fresh perspective.
Yeah, which was kind of cool, because I just did a remix of a song that I knew I had listened to the original, but I didn't recognize that there was an extra freaking verse. But I thought it, you just gotta play it off and say, "Oh yeah, I meant to do that."
Yeah,
Like, for real, I was like super oblivious for a minute on that. But Joe checked all the remixes out, and he liked everything and approved everything. And if he didn't like something, it wasn't going on the record. So, he approved it.
And yeah, that's
awesome.
so cool to hear, Kuma, man. That's a trip, and it makes sense with the Wraith Shangri-La too, that there would be leftover material, because like it's such a condensed album. There's so many short songs. There's like songs that are on the tail end of other tracks and stuff. So if there's any album that I'd imagine to have like cut verses and stuff, it would be that one. But like it's
And
crazy.
I'm pretty sure there's more than that. There's like alternate versions of Blam, I've heard.
No way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, different
dude.
lyrics, but I don't know if they'll ever see the light of day. But I think if this interview gets into Violent J's ear hole, you might want to go searching for that someday.
Man, well, yeah, because like
That'd be
the
cool, man.
Hell's Cellar, there could be a Shangri-La version of that where it's like outtakes. That'd be so fresh.
Yeah, there were some cool outtakes from Hell's Pit I found.
Yeah.
Digging through those files, and that's where we saved things. So that was cool.
Here is a really nerdy ass question we've never asked anyone. Did they so when you're working with them, do they back it up on like external drives, or do they keep stuff on the cloud, or like what is there a system for archiving, or is that secret?
Dude, am I going to tell you everything? No. So as a producer engineer, we have the illustrious privilege of being data management. So so we do Time Machine on the Mac, and then we also do backups on bare bone hard drives. And then I've been pushing to try to catalog everything, and it somewhat has come together, but I'm not there all the damn time, and it's a big job. So I think someday when we're done being creatives and it's archive time, we'll invest in like more like network attached storage, Synologies, 10 gigabyte Ethernet. But for the most part, like we keep it pretty simple because we're moving so quick. But I think we're moving in better directions, because I'd love to have certain things come out in the future.
That's awesome. And the fact that like the different versions of the softwares will change and everything, like having it backed up. Your job then, like giving birth to these albums, is also labeling them and keeping the chaos to a minimum, which you're probably balancing a bunch of plates,
It is a lot of organization. I mean, like, for example, I'm working on a record right now. I'm not going to tell you what it is. But,
shoot.
Is it Psychopathic? Can you tell us that?
I don't know, man. I just work here. I just work there. And it's a good one too. Anyways, I'm not there full time as a engineer as much as I was a few years back. But I still come in and do stuff. But files get spread apart. So you, like in Pro Tools, you got to make sure things are organized. So today I spent some time organizing what's happening right now. And it's part of the job, man. It's part of the gig, is being organized and, making sure that your clients can find what they need when you're not there too, because a lot of creatives like to work at 3 a.m.
Right, man, and especially too, it's good to know where everything is for. Because I mean, Psychopathic has such longevity that they're having all these 20th, and soon there's going to be a lot of 25th anniversaries. So it's good to be able to get access to that, and it's so crazy because like I know, and me and Lars always talk about how so much of ICP's work is overlooked by the outside world. I know they have a lot of staying power in pop culture, but there's so many like deep cuts that it was like, if it was any other band, I feel like this song would be huge, And the production is a huge reason of that. Like Mikey Clark and Mike P, Kuma, and as far as like the newer stuff, Devereaux Shaggy the Airhead, like we're lucky that you guys lend us your musical abilities, because it's on par with anything else.
And that's another reason why, like, I'm trying to always stay humble about this shit, because I can never fill Mikey Clark's shoes, to be honest with you. Like, I can never do that. Like,
oh man,
he's a legend, and I'm I'll admit it. I can never do what Mike P does. I can't do what Devereaux.
But Mike P and Mikey Clark can't do what Kuma does either. That's what's so dope about art,
So
you know?
that's the cool thing about Psychopathic is when we come together as a team, like we're fucking unstoppable in my opinion. I got to give shout outs to Fritz, Eric Davey, and Straight Jacket, like all those guys. There's even more I'm forgetting about. I'm sorry about that. But, you know, there's a lot of people that have come and gone, but still are here. And, you know, it's all a part of the legacy of even Isham's made beats, you know, and Shaggy Two Dope. So, I mean, we're all trying to build the best catalog for the fan base, you know.
We appreciate all this insight. We definitely ran the gamut on from technical to spiritual to production techniques to all this. It's been a really special interview, man. Like I really value your time. Thank you for coming on. And where can Juggalos and other fans keep up to date with stuff you're working on?
Yeah, absolutely. So we didn't really touch base upon the techno and house stuff I do, which is my other name, Brian Kage with a K. It's pronounced Kage. But you can go to briankage.com. You can find all my music. I still press vinyl. It's more dance music, electronic.
That's on Michigander, right? Is that the Michigander flavor?
That's my label. Yep, Michigander.
Cool.
And, I'm still pressing records. I'm playing the Detroit Electronic Music Festival this year down in Hart Plaza. So if you're in town, come on down.
That's dope.
Yeah. So I think that's the best way to find me. And then you can obviously find me on Instagram with that name. But the Kuma's pseudonym was designed to be like a secret little bear just making some hot fire in a cave. I never thought it would be like this, you know?
Right.
And I didn't want to do it under like my original nickname, which was Cage or Kage, because I wanted it to represent a different sound. So it's Brian Kuma versus Brian Kage, where it's Kuma's the more hip hop and, you know, rockin' shit, you know, versus, but it all goes hand in hand at this point.
Yeah, man. And dude, what better way to kind of encapsulate who you are, you know, because that, like, you're just a multi-talented, multi-faceted ninja, and it's been an unbelievable honor to have you on Hatchet Chat, dude. Thank you for all the flavor, video, music, everything else, and we cannot wait to see what else you got for us, brother.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you, Kuma. We'll talk to you later, and we hope you have a good night.
All right, yeah, you too, man. You guys take care, and whoop whoop.
Whoop whoop. Much clown love.